Hey guys, in this video we are painting the spring blossoms with the little butterfly. Make sure you have your canvas out and ready. Get your paints prepped and put on your plate. You're going to need an assortment of brush sizes and then some kind of vessel to put some water in so you can clean out your brushes and just store your dirty ones. Also, make sure you have paper towels on hand just to dry your brushes and to grab any spills or messes that you may create in the process. We are not perfect. Sometimes we knock stuff over. To start, I'm gonna just take my Sharpie. Make sure you use a Sharpie. It needs to be a permanent marker. Otherwise, the marker ink will blend into your paint, and that is a nightmare, trust me. So I'm just gonna go around the outside of this little butterfly guy. The way we can be kind of sloppy around it and not worry about losing our lines. Oops, I missed one right there. Okay, so we're gonna work on background next. While that dries, because you wanna make sure your Sharpie ink is dry. While that dries, we're just gonna mix up some background colors. So we're kind of using a combination of different colors to kind of streak through. So let's get those mixed up to start, just to make our lives a little easier. We're gonna want a very pale peach color. So a lot of white. And you're gonna need to mix up more than me. I'm using this itty bitty canvas. It's just quicker and it's more economical for me to be painting on the smaller ones. So sorry. So make sure you get just like 4 times as much paint mixed as me. I'm just gonna start stirring in just a little bit of this orangey color. It's called Venetian red, till I get this nice kind of peachy hue. So I've got that one. Just gonna roll out my brush. I'm going to make a purpley one. So it's going to be blue and red. Stir that together. The more blue you have, obviously the bluer your purple would be. The more red you have, the more like kind of reddish purple. Any shade really is fine. I tend to go more on the blue end personally. I just am more a fan of that shade. My brush keeps splitting. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that, just pretty much what's on my brush, and I'll just stir it in with white. Very light and pastel. And again, make sure you're mixing up a lot more than what I have. You're gonna have to get this to spread out all over your canvas. And we're gonna do kind of like a very pale yellow as well. And I'm gonna clean out my brush this time. And a bunch of white and just a little bit of yellow, and you're just gonna mix that in. And this is gonna be kind of like this creamy, very pale buttery color. I can maybe get a little bit more in there. So, about like that. So I've got this shade, and this shade. So I'm gonna kind of alternate as I work between these 3 shades and white paint. So any which way you want to start, I'll kind of start up here. And you can be a little bit messy and go through your flower petals. So I've got a little yellow, maybe I'll take a little orange, streak that through, just to get a little variation. Maybe a little yellow over here. Maybe I can get a little purple in, just a little bit. And it's just very little paint on your brush. You're just kind of sweeping it through. Be careful with the purple though. If you work that too much into like the yellows and the oranges, it will kind of turn this gray, murky color. I need a little bit more of the purple. You can always go back in when it's dry and layer on top if it gets like that. So some yellow. Now that I'm getting over here in these bigger spaces, it will be a little easier. And I'll just go right through the butterfly. Maybe a little bit of my orange. Just make sure you're getting in all the little cracks and crevices. See, there's a little space here. A little bit of yellow. And more purple. This one got yucky. I'm gonna let that dry and go on top of it. Be a little peach. And you know, you can always take a little bit of white in too. I said that earlier. Just very lightly, just kind of brush a little white through it as well. Got down here and this little crack. So when I do my flowers, my sloppiness here isn't gonna be showing. The flowers will cover that right up. I'm gonna go ahead and flip my canvas because I have all this bottom area to do. So let's go with, I think this is a little crack in here, get that filled in. Maybe this little crack here. By the time I get my petals in, I'll probably just kind of make them bigger to fill in that little crack. But I just want to make sure I get paint all over the canvas in the background. I don't want any white spots showing. I'm grabbing a little yellow. Some white. And this is going to have some grass down here in this bottom area. So a lot of this will be covered as well. I'm going to grab a little purple. A little white. A little peach. And then just kind of alternate between your colors and any, you know, pattern or whatever, however you want to do it. Just try not to overwork them too much because you don't want all the color to kind of blend in and make one big kind of gray murkiness. So keep it streaky. Don't overblend. I'm going to come back up to my top here where see where this kind of overblended. It kind of turned this not so attractive purpley color. I'm just gonna go back on top now that it's dry, kind of brighten it up. There, and I have in my whole background filled in. So just you take your time and get that filled in. Next, we're going to work on the flowers. I'm going to do, this big one on top is blue. The smaller one is purple. You can reverse them if you want. Doesn't really matter which one is which color. I'm going to do my top one blue. I'm just cleaning out my brush. So I'm going to start with a base coat just to fill in all the petals. We'll worry about highlights and shadows later. So my base coat is going to be a nice light blue. I'm going to scoop up some blue, stir it in with quite a bit of white. The blue is very strong. It doesn't take a ton to, you know, tint your white. I don't know if my hand's in the way. I try to go through and watch the videos, but they're long, so you know it's kind of time consuming to go through and watch all of them. So what I've noticed, I do tend to keep my hand in front of the thing where you're trying to see the color. So I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful of that. I'm going to add just the teeniest bit of yellow. I don't want it to turn green, but I kind of want to tint it down a little. It's kind of forcing me to scoop more yellow. So about like that. It's just a teeny tiny bit of yellow. You can avoid that altogether if you want. You don't have to tint it with yellow. So my color is about like that. And I'm just going to come in and paint all these petals. Nice, smooth, even paint. Try not to have globs. It's okay if you slop into the center. That's going to be a nice dark brown, and we'll paint that later. And it will cover kind of any messiness. Forgot to put a smock on. I might have to do that. I almost had my paint plate, because it's in my hand, I almost put it right up against my boobs. I don't want painted boobs. Let me go grab a smock. Actually, did the whole get ready for the day thing today. I wore real clothes instead of sweatpants, so I don't really want to ruin what I have on. Quarantine has got me all eating junk food and wearing sweatpants 24/7. Today I made an effort. I was like, my self-esteem needs a boost. I even did makeup. Okay, smock on. Finish. I put my brush in my water. Let me dry that off. Let me just finish up here, get these petals on. It's actually a little more challenging to paint this so little. It's a lot more forgiving when it's big. This I have to be a little bit more right on the money. All right, so now that I have all like the base kind of like mid-tone blue on, that one's got, I didn't stir my blue in that well, it's a little streaky. That's okay, because we're gonna be streaking on top. So I'm gonna do a nice dark bright blue. Maybe I'll do the white first. I'm looking at it here, trying to remember the order. Yeah, I feel like the white. So I'm just gonna take some white paint. Mine's getting kind of crusty over there. Got my white paint. I didn't clean my brush. That's fine. I'm just gonna start kind of streaking in some highlights. Just kind of, and they kind of curve with the petal. So this one goes like this. I just make my white follow the curve. This is going to end up being very dark blue over here. But I'll go ahead and make sure I get the white on too. So I've got my brighter pieces on. Next is just going to be the dark blue on top. I'm going to go ahead and start on my purple one because I think we'll fare better if we just get the basin of this. That way when we do kind of the dark blue outline, if we get sloppy, it'll be on top of the purple. Yeah, I'm just rambling on. Okay, so for the purple, we're going to again do our nice kind of mid-tone purple shade. I'm gonna just go ahead and rework my background purple. I'm gonna make it darker. So I'm gonna add more blue and more red. Well, I guess I have some over there. Let me just scoop up my dark purple. And I just stir it over here. Kind of make this medium light shade of purple. Not really light, it's pretty dark. Just make sure you're getting a lot of white stirred in. But purple is red, blue, white. Everyone will have a different shade. It just depends on your red to blue ratio. Mine is a little bit more blue in it. If it has more red, it'll be kind of more like a magenta fuchsia color, which is perfectly fine. I just tend to gravitate more towards this tone of purple personally. Everyone likes certain colors, so just do what makes you happy. So with this color, again, just gonna go in and paint petals. Yeah, see, I'm glad that I decided to do it this way, because if we kind of get messy on these edges when we put our like dark outlines in, we can clean them up. And being mine's so tiny, I need little spots where, you know, it's going to be a little forgiving for me. Because you just make the slightest little blip and it's huge. I see I had a little piece of background that was supposed to be filled in right there. I'm just going to make my petals bigger and just fill that in. I'm going to flip just so this is easier to reach. I just love this one. It's just so pretty. It's very springy. But it can also, like, if you put it in your home, can be up all year long. And the colors are fairly neutral. I mean, they're not all bright and crazy. They're kind of muted. They're pretty. Okay, let me just touch up this guy here. Flip her back. And we're going to do kind of a reddish, lighter tone purple to kind of brush out on top like we did the white on the blue one. So I'm just gonna take a scoop of red. Am I in view? I hope so. Stir it over here into my purpley color. As you can see now, my purple is much more magenta toned. And I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it. Something about like that. Again, the shade doesn't need to be perfect, just slightly different than before and a little bit lighter. And we're gonna brush on, just kind of define some of these petals. Oh man, I need to pay attention. I think that needs to be just a little bit lighter. I'm gonna add some more white in. There we go. Sometimes it's hard to tell until you get on there. Then you know what to do to adjust. So again, I'm just gonna go over what I did here. And I kind of find my petals here, about one. And this guy's a big guy. Make sure you're leaving some of the other purple show. That might be a little heavy. I probably could have used a smaller brush for this. It's looking really pretty though. Flipping. Let's see, I'll make this two, so this guy and that guy. Okay. So I'm gonna work that again, this time with just plain white. Just gonna take a little bit of white on my brush. That's kind of just like how we did on the blue one. Gonna add a little bit of white through, brighten up some of the spots. Just to give all the petals just a little variation. If you end up getting more white on than you like, or even more of that light purple color, you can always go back to your other purple that we painted it originally. You can just throw a little bit more of that on. And it just kind of tones down what you just put on. Okay, I'm gonna flip this back. I got two pretty flowers. I actually kind of like them a lot, just like that. But they're gonna look even better when we get our dark on. So I'm gonna do the blue one first. And I'm gonna mix my color with my bigger brush. As far as you guys, because your canvases are bigger, this size is perfectly fine for you. Since mine is itty bitty, I'm gonna use this square one. If you can see the difference in size. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna stir up my paint using my bigger brush just because it's easier to stir than the little guy. And it's this blue. We're gonna take a little bit of black. That might be a lot bit of black. A little bit of black, stir it in to this nice dark blue. And then just a little bit of white. Since my white is kind of non-existent over there, I'll just use this light blue as my white. It's just perfectly fine. So I want it to stay fairly dark. A little bit more blue. Okay. So something about like that. We just want a nice dark shade against the light shade. I'm just gonna roll the extra off so I can not waste it and use it with my small brush. So I'm coming in to do kind of my outlining things in the dark, kind of the part that radiates out. So starting at the base of the flower, I'm just gonna kind of lightly brush it in and out, and I can swoop on the sides of each of the petals. I want that just a little, and it kind of, the length of the line just kind of changes. You don't want them all the same size. Try to mix it up a little, some short, some long. Let me find my petal here. Doing the outline. Get right in that base. So something about like that. I'm just gonna go in and just make sure I've got it nice and dark at the very base. And if you want to tone this down, go ahead and I'll just use my dirty brush and stir it into kind of that base original. Well, geez, I got more in it than I kind of want. That's okay. I'm just gonna use kind of this original base color stirred in with just a little bit of that dark color. And you could just kind of go over top a little and kind of help that be a little, a better transition, so it's not just quite so stark dark there. It doesn't take much, and it does help if it's a little bit wet because it kind of will blend in with it. I'm gonna go back in with some white too, just to brighten my bright highlights. So just kind of overlapping, doing a bit of a scribble. Okay, so now just some white. And my brush, I'm gonna use my bigger square brush again. Just a little bit of white, find a clean spot, good luck. I'll just come back in and just kind of brush it on, brightening up some of those petals. Just giving them a little bit of another highlight. We have all these pretty colors just kind of blending together on each petal. Beautiful. Now the purple one, same idea. We're gonna make a nice dark purple. I'm gonna get my brush cleaned out. So nice dark purple, red and blue stirred together. A little heavier on the blue. Let me look. Yeah, okay. It's easier to see when you kind of find a clear spot on your plate and let the white show through. So about like that, nice dark purple. I use my smaller brush. And it's the same process. We're just gonna use our nice dark purple. Try not to get too many globbies on my brush. And just right at the base, and then work it up, let it radiate out. Do little highlights around the, or not highlights, outlines. Excuse me, around the petals. Right in the base and work outward. I should flip this. Might make it a little easier. Let's make sure I get it down in that base. Okay, so I got all my dark purple on. Maybe just make sure I'm nice and dark down in here. This is gonna get covered with the dark brown, so no worries that it's kind of a hot mess. And I'm gonna go back in with just to give it another quick highlight, a little bit of the light purple. I'm gonna lighten it a little bit more. Just get my brush cleaned out. So I have this, the lightest purple that we had made to brush on. I'm just gonna take a little scoop of white. There's a little blue in it, that's okay. And just lighten this up. We have this very, very pastel-y color now. And a little bit on my brush, I'm just kind of scraping the excess off. I'm just gonna lightly come in on each one. Just kind of give it little pizzazz. Beautiful. Okay, we got the petals complete. Next, I just need to do the centers and the butterfly. Oh, and we have some grass. Okay, so we're gonna start by making a nice dark brown, and it's going to be the color of the center of the flowers, and it will be the color of the butterfly. I'm just getting my brush cleaned out. And to make the nice dark brown, we mix the burnt orange color, it's Venetian red, and black. About equal parts of both, maybe a little bit more of the orange than the black. And just stir that together till you get this really nice dark brown. It's pretty dark, like dark chocolate. Just make sure you mix up enough to fill in all your centers and that butterfly. About 4 times as much as what I'm making. Maybe not that much more, but definitely more. Just go in and paint the centers of the flowers. Try to keep them round and just overlap right on to where I've done that dark blue. If you need to reshape, reshape. Mine's kind of weird. It's slowly getting bigger and bigger. So like that. Ah, I hate it when that happens. You'd think I'd learn by now to get it all the way against there, but no. It only has to happen 500 more times for me to figure it out. Okay, I'm gonna do my butterfly. You're gonna do the wings and the body. I probably should use a smaller brush. I'm gonna have a crazy looking butterfly. Yeah, I'm gonna switch brushes. Got his little body. Mine's just teeny tiny. Just make sure that you're getting that Sharpie line covered. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the centers of our flowers. I'm gonna just kind of get rid of this excess paint that's on my brush. And using your kind of medium brush, we are going to layer on some of our peachy color from the background. I'm just gonna dab it, and it's gonna kind of blend in with that dark brown. If you need it to blend more, just get a little bit more dark brown on your brush and just layer it in. You don't want to work it too much because you want that texture. You want it to look kind of like pollen, I guess. So about like that. And I'm going to do the same on this one. Let me get the brown off my brush a little bit better. Peachy. I'm just kind of dabbing it in. And to get it to blend a little bit more, grab a little of your dark brown and smush that all in there. Just so it has cool texture. You can also take a little of your light yellow. I just scrape my brush, it's not clean. I got this pale yellow. You could put a little of that in there too. It doesn't really show up as that much different in, you know, color, but just a little something. A little something, something. Pretty. And for the butterfly, smaller brush. You guys can probably, your butterfly's a lot bigger. I'm looking at the giant one over here to the side. And definitely a bigger brush stroke is perfectly fine. So I'm going to start with my pale yellow. And it was just a little bit of yellow mixed in with quite a bit of white. I've got my pale yellow here. And at the base of each of the wings, I'm going to kind of have it radiate out. You need very little paint on your brush. And I'm just kind of brushing it outward. Kind of like the petals, how we did in here. Mine could stand to have a little bit more yellow in it because it looks very white. I'm gonna go right on top with this that's a little more yellow in it. Apparently it's got a little blue in it too. Let me just stir that right on in like it didn't happen. There, that's better. Now it actually looks like yellow. And on the ends of the wings, I almost called them petals. So from the outside of each wing, we're gonna go the opposite direction. And this time we are going to use this orange, this burnt orange color. Just tiny bit on your brush. And from the outside, I'm brushing in. And you could put some up in here too if you want. And I'm also going to take just a teeny tiny bit of this orange and down one side of the body. Mine is so tiny. Just pick one side, left or right. I'll just go with kind of the right-hand side on the top. And I just took a little bit of that orange down the side just to brighten up the body. And now you can see it separate from the wings. We are also going to do a little highlight and some little polka dots. So using a little tiny brush, just a little bit of white on your brush. I'm going to just kind of come around the body, brighten that up. And with the back side of my brush, I'll just dip it into the white paint. I'm just going to put some cute little dots around the edges of my wings. I'll just come down. I'm trying to make these so tiny. Yours can be bigger, your butterfly is bigger. And we are done. Oh no, we got grass. I know that I've painted this several times before in the studio and everyone kind of goes, oh, I don't want to do the grass. But I promise it's not that hard. I'm going to use my medium brush. You probably want your big brush. You'll just get more paint put on and it'll just work better for you. I'm going to make green. And I'm just going to mix in this spot here because I don't really have anywhere else to mix. And whatever's going on in that color is not going to affect my green at all. So yellow and blue put together. We're going to start with a nice dark green. I'll just kind of scoop some of that out. Put it over here for later. And then the remainder, I'm going to put a little black in. So it's nice and dark. Okay, so for grass, I want my brush to be nice and skinny, so I'm going to clean it out. If it's full of paint, the bristles get really wide. And I want them to be very narrow. I don't know if you can see that. Because I'm going to be using my brush up and down like this on the side, opposed to flat like this where it would make a wide line. I wanted to make a narrow line. So I'll start at the bottom. I just get the paint on my brush and then I just kind of press it out. That way my brush stays nice and narrow. And I'm gonna come from the bottom up. So I actually kind of twist my brush. I leave it flat down at the bottom so it's square, and as I go up, I twist it on its side. Or you could just kind of fill in down at the bottom with the flat, and then towards the top here, just start flicking in so that you have nice tapered lines. Because this base here is going to be nice and filled in, and as it comes up and overlaps, you want skinny, tapery lines. So I'm just going to kind of put in little patches. Work on, then I can just fill this bottom in. Over here, get some grass. So I'll come about here to that first bottom petal that kind of runs off the side. And then I'll leave a space, and then in this corner, I'm gonna add a little bit more. Just getting the bottom all filled in. Okay, so layer one. The next layer is, we're gonna just put some blue in. So just take on your dirty brush, a little bit of blue, and just kind of throw a little of that in. Doesn't need to be much. Mostly kind of in the base, how it kind of darkens it. How did I get white? Dang it. Let me kind of brush that off. Fabulous. How did I even do that? Who knows? A little bit of blue, not a lot. More in the base, not tapered up, just kind of deepening the blue, the green down in the base. Then we're gonna do one more layer. I left this green over here to the side earlier when I mixed this up, and I'll just take some white in with that and some more yellow. So I get this nice kind of brighter green. Yeah, it's getting the light blue mixed in, but that's fine because there's blue and green. And just some of these lighter ones right on top. I leave a lot of those darker ones showing. There, now we have grass. And now we're done. Oh, that's so pretty. Sign my name. I'll just mix a little water in. We got about some water in with this green. I'll just lighten up that green a little. I'm gonna hide it down in this grass. So I wanted to show, but not like, you know, stick out like a sore thumb. A little bit more water stirred in, just to thin it out. Paint flows easier when it's a little thinner. It's easier to do little detaily stuff. I like to outline, adding water to my paint and signing my name. I put my thumb in the big old blob of paint. Sorry, I'm wiping that off. And right here, I'm just gonna tuck my name in. Fabulous. I hope you enjoyed painting this with me. I do love this one. It's just a happy little painting. When you are done, I like seeing your finished work, so please take pictures and post to my Facebook page. There's a post pinned right at the very top, so you can find it quite easily. I enjoy seeing them, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.